Our fourth speaker in this session is Ms. Adrienna Zsakay. She is the founder and CEO of Circular Asia Association, and she's going to talk about sustainable development and international trade. Over to you, Ms. Adrienna.
So thank you for having me here today. And the topic of my talk is international trade and SDGs. So we've got 4 stages here, SMEs in international trade, a tale of 2 countries, communicating SDGs, and sustainable aquaculture. So there's some interesting facts with SMEs in international trade, and I'll just start off with that.
Adrienna, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you are off camera.
Okay, let me just see what's the matter here. My camera's not, okay,
yes,
can you see me now?
See you. Yes,
okay.
Yes, perfect.
All right. Okay, so let me get back to some statistics now on SMEs involved in international trade, because it's really actually quite interesting. And we're starting off with the EU, and the EU here, we've got 2 types of statistics. We've got, first of all, international trade by value. And as you can see, as one would expect, that international trade by value, there's more value coming out from large companies than there are from the SMEs. But on the right-hand side, we've also got SMEs weight. So how the participation rate of SMEs in international trade. So in 2019, 99% of importing enterprises in total trade, intra-EU and extra-EU, outside of the EU, were small to medium-sized enterprises. So really, that's quite surprising on the number of SMEs who are actually involved in international trade. When we go across the pond to the US, we've got, I don't have the dollar value of US trade, but as you can see, US trade fluctuates, SME engagement in international trade fluctuates between 5.5% all the way through to approximately 12%. Now, one of the interesting facts that came up during this research is that internet-enabled SMEs are the exception to the rule. That for companies that are internet-enabled, they have access or are participating in the global economy, 99%. Reports from eBay find that while only a small fraction of traditional SMEs, between 4 and 28%, are involved in the global economy, we've got 97% of internet-enabled SMEs do. So really, that's absolutely amazing, and that even surprised me. So now you're going to be wondering, well, Adrienna, all these statistics are really great, but what does it mean in regards to the SDGs? The key with all this is really about how we communicate the SDGs. So we do have an opportunity, if you have your company listed, if you have your company website, and then you are able to trade globally, then you also have the opportunity to communicate your sustainability agenda to a far broader audience. And really, that's one of the biggest problems that I'm finding with the SDGs and as a circular economy practitioner, is that you can go out onto the street and you can ask somebody about, have you heard of the SDGs? And 9 people out of 10 will say no. They're completely clueless. And that's not anything wrong with them. It's simply that we're not communicating. It's just the message is really not broad enough. So even though people have heard of climate change and they'd like to shop sustainably, we still have a really long way to go before we get consumer engagement. So we've got a tale of 2 countries here, Brunei and Singapore. Now, both of them are 2 small countries, quite close to each other, part of the ASEAN region. And the reason why I've picked these 2 countries is that they're coming to their to a collaboration between these two countries from two very different perspectives. Singapore is looking for food security. Singapore imports up to 90% of its total food consumption, which makes it very vulnerable. And they actually have a target to reach 30% sustainability with 30% of their own food production by 2030. So that reduces that number to about 60 or 70%. Brunei, on the other hand, is an oil producing country that's looking to diversify its economy, and it sees aquaculture as one particular type of industry that can be suitable for diversity. So in a recent headline, on April 1st, this article was published that Singapore and Brunei got together in regards for agriculture and fisheries collaboration. Now, I'm not going to give you enough, I'm not going to talk about really Singapore, because again, as I've mentioned, Singapore really comes to this, to the table looking for food security. But Brunei doesn't. Brunei is coming to the table because it really wants to grow its domestic economy through diversity and move away from its reliance on the fossil fuel industry. So as we can see, we have got micro businesses in Brunei, 39.8%, and we have small to medium businesses, small businesses, 42%. So that's a total of 82.6% that are micro to small businesses. And they make up the majority of enterprises in Brunei. And here's what that looks like. This is from the Department of Statistics in Brunei. So this is what the economic activity looks like. Unfortunately, the latest statistics were 2015. I can't get anything later than that. But Brunei is a country with under 500,000 people. It's approximately 400,000 people. So there's not a lot of people in Brunei. Singapore's a country of nearly 5 million people. So this is what their domestic economy looks like in Brunei. It's made up of a bit of manufacturing, some electricity, construction, wholesale and retail, transportation, and then we have agriculture, forestry and fishery. Now that we've got a bit of a snapshot of these countries and who they are, Brunei and Singapore, how do they communicate their SDGs? Well, first of all, there's endless possibilities of how they can communicate, because remember, if you're an internet-enabled SME, you have a better chance of trading globally. And with that, you also have a better chance of being able to communicate your sustainability far more than if you're not internet enabled, for obvious reasons. But what does that look like? So this is actually from a Singaporean newspaper. This actually doesn't talk about sustainability or the SDGs. But what it does talk about is the future of fish farming in relationship to Singapore's food security. Now, this is very sophisticated graphic, and it's not much of a jump to move from this kind of graphic and include sustainability. We do have a bit of solar energy and algae production and rainwater collection. So there is some movement towards sustainability, how this particular fish farm manages its energy usage, its algae production, and then rainwater and water usage and water reticulation, which are very important components for sustainability. So as you can see, it's a very sophisticated graphic. This is from a newspaper in Singapore. It's also online. And this is the kind of communication that really could do very well with helping people truly understand about how things work in regards to sustainability. Now, on the other hand, Brunei doesn't do a great job. The best image I could find, and this has got nothing to do with sustainability, But Brunei seems to be more focused on the public relations aspect of it, rather than the technology or the sustainability aspects of it. And really, Brunei is the one that it's much more important for Brunei to engage in a far deeper conversation with their audience in regards to SDGs and sustainability, because they're the ones that want to diversify their economy. So, and remember, 86% of Brunei's economy is made up of micro and small businesses. So I don't know how many of those small businesses are internet enabled, but if they're, so it would be difficult to find that statistic. But it's really critical that Brunei really moves into a more sophisticated way of being able to communicate its sustainability, which is the whole point of really my talk as part of international trade. So what does sustainable aquaculture look like? Well, the good news is that we are having more fish on our tables that come from farms than wild catch. So that's really good news. The headline for this, fish in, fish out, is really about how much fish does it take wild fish to feed farmed fish. And so if it takes more than one wild fish to grow one farmed fish, then that's really not very good. We want to have less. And over the last few decades, that has actually come down quite significantly. Now it's around 0.28 or 0.3% of a wild fish. And also that we also have different types of fish food now that are being, and black soldier fly, which is a part of food waste. So we are really moving along significantly and putting less pressure on wild fish to farm our fish farms or to feed our fish farms. There's also a huge environmental impact. We have greenhouse gas emissions per kilo of seafood. So as you can see here, there's a selection on this graphic that has farmed and wild seafood, wild caught seafood. So there's a significant amount of greenhouse gas emissions in regards to it. Now, what's interesting with this graphic, if you can see, that they've benchmarked it against chicken. So chicken kind of sits in the middle of all this in regards to greenhouse gas CO2 emissions or greenhouse gas emissions. So the people behind producing these graphics wanted us to understand that in relationship to proteins that come from chicken, in regards to sustainability and greenhouse gases, you know, some wild caught fish actually doesn't do very well, whereas farmed fish does a little better. And this is something that's very important. If Brunei, as a small country wanting to diversify its economy, is going to start moving towards sustainability, which it must do, then these are the kinds of information that it'll need to have. So getting aquaculture right, this comes from the World Resources Institute. They've come up with 5 different approaches in regards to how you can get your sustainability right. You can invest in technological innovation and transfer, focus beyond the farm, shift incentives to reward sustainability. So for example, the Thai government, they started rewarding fish farmers, legal fish farmers. So apparently, which I didn't know, there's quite a number of illegal fish farmers. But if you were a legal fish farmer, you were rewarded with grants and low interest loans, free water, and other incentives. So if you're part of the system, you get benefits. And if you're not part of the system, obviously you don't get any benefits. Leverage on the latest information technology, and eat fish that are low on the food chain, that require less input for output. Remember, it's how much food a fish requires to be able to produce that 1 kilo of protein. But I've got another one. I've added in a 6th strategy. And this is really has been the foundation of my talk here today, is about communication. That's really, there's just simply not enough communication. And I'm not talking about greenwashing. I'm talking about how, even if you say we are trying to be sustainable and we are doing one thing, perhaps it's just putting up a solar panel, or it's some small effort that you're making. You're buying black soldier fly from food waste to feed your fish. Just something that's genuine and real and authentic, that communicates some effort towards sustainability, so that you can give your investors and your customers and your employees some level of confidence that you are actually moving towards a sustainable future, and that you're not simply out of the loop, or that you're seeing it as a cost. So it's really critical to, in my opinion, that this process start, and that it's, again, obviously you have to be doing something that's real and genuine. So about Circular Economy Asia, we do 3 things. We do resource recovery for secondary raw materials industry. We provide skills training to deliver circular outcomes, and we are involved in circular supply chains and resource management, around resource management. So thank you so much for having me. You can contact me at adrienna@circulareconomyasia.org, and you can visit my website, circulareconomyasia.org.
Thank you so much, Adrienna, for that very informative session. Looking forward to working with you in the future as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And with that, we come to the end of our powerful sustainable development session 1. And